Hello, everybody, and welcome to another adventure in history. I hope you all are doing well, and hope the world is treating you nicely. I hope that you're getting all that you can out of things, and that the world is not treating you as if you are some sort of, leftover from a previous dimension or something of that nature. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But I hope that you're having a good day. And I hope that the world is happy. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. Macaroni and Brie. Thank you so much. Very delightful name. I still giggle every time that I see it. Foggage, good to see you. I am getting on with it. I was late. I know I had to turn all of the redemptions back on because KP hit me with the notification, hey dum-dum, you still have all those off, because I turned them off when I was doing History of Middle-earth, and then I didn't turn them on. So, there we go. Now they're all back on. Happy Thursday to you as well. What's up, Kyle? Good to see you. Hope that the world is, again, treating everybody politely. It's been an okay day. Can't complain too much. Been the kind of busy where you get stuff done and you look back at the day and you go, man, I'm glad I was able to get all that stuff done, because that was a good thing to do. And that has been somewhat different than previous days this week, where I went to work and I worked all day and I felt like I got nothing accomplished because I had more work at the end of the day than I did at the beginning of the day. So yeah, those are weird days, and I'm not necessarily the biggest of fans of those, so I'm glad today was pretty great. I hope your day was great too. Yeah. So, welcome everybody. For those of you that don't know, my name is Shane. This is Adventures in History. We have a show where we talk about history, and we do it in chronological order here on Thursdays, and we're talking about the 7th century of the modern era, current era, AD, whatever you want to call it that you're cozy with. That's what we're talking about. And we do it in a sort of organized way. So instead of trying to cram everything in 1 year by 1 year, we go by region, and we look at regions in that century. And because these regions border each other, we do get some overlap. But, well, you know, it gives us a little bit of an opportunity to zoom in on something and try to create a narrative out of it. You managed to tick everything off the to-do list, feeling proud. Congratulations. I did not get everything off of my to-do list, but I took more stuff off today than I put on the list. So that is a win for me. Hopefully, after tomorrow morning, I will be caught up with where I thought that I would be by Tuesday. Yeah, it's been that kind of week. I was actually supposed to stream on Tuesday about 2:45 in the afternoon, 14:45 if you want to do the military time. I looked at the clock and I opened my email and I realized that I had yet to finish the stream material for Tuesday, and I text Brittany and I said, existential panic, just figured out that I'm not ready to stream tonight. And she was like, well, you should just push it to next week. And I was like, well, I could just come home and work straight through and get it done right under the wire and not have time to eat. And she's like, or you could push it to next week. So I listened to the wisdom that came from my wife, and I pushed that to next week, where I will have time to get it done, and it will not be at the detriment of, you know, my ability to eat or calm or things like that. What up, Tuna? Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're having a great one. And I don't want to blame it all on you. I want to give you the credit for saving my fragile sanity. So we'll just look at it that way, if that's okay. Wife wisdom is very powerful. It is. It is, and I will say that even on stream, where I know that it will end up going on VOD record and can be used against me in a court of law in the future. Or just in arguments. Right? Not that we have super lots of arguments. I think I might have only ever raised my voice one time, like in an actual anger thing towards my wife, and that was when we were moving from Alabama to Mississippi, and I was at the end of my wits, and that's probably the only time, and I apologize profusely for that. Have you considered asking the state for $70 million in welfare funds? Because I hear they're giving that out casually. I haven't heard anything about $70 million in funds, Moose. Is this a joke about something that has happened that I don't remember because I didn't pay attention to it? Someone clop that? You want to come and see me? The puppy is already asking to come up. Come on. Come on. Hello, puppy. Hello, Kaylee. Hey. Hello there. What are you doing? She's been following me around. We had barbecue last night, and I had leftovers for dinner. And she's basically been following me around since then. I guess I smell like barbecue or something. Brett Favre has $7 million. Oh yeah. That whole thing is like literally right down the road from me. I could ride a bike there and not be sweaty by the time that it happened. So. You also had to be super rich and friends with the governor to get that $70 million. So I'm neither of those. But there we go. Yeah, our state is a giant pit of corruption. So perhaps I should refer to wretched hive of scum and villainy to refer to the capital city. But they're actually nice people that live there. It's just the government that I want to call wretched hive of scum and villainy. So maybe the Capitol building and the governor's mansion is a wretched hive of scum and villainy. There are some good politicians from the state, though. It's tough to delineate. The vast majority of the people in the state house are comprising a wretched hive of scum and villainy. There we go. Just have the governor smell barbecue on you? No, if the governor smelled barbecue on me... the current governor, not the former governor is the one that's in the scandal. The current governor is just a turd that I don't think anybody really likes anymore. I'm not even sure he likes himself. He looks like a potato. There you go. You saw, we didn't need to get there yet. You saw a 228 for Tate. Oh my gosh. That blobfish did nothing wrong. What's up, Green Herring? I'll absolutely judge him on his actions as well, because he has single-handedly done many things that have directly hurt the state, and he also looks like a blobfish. Anyway. Enough about that. Let's talk about Byzantium. Which, of course, is just Rome. Right? Because Rome survives. It's not just Rome in the old west that, falls, and that's the end of Rome. There's a little bit of Rome left, and it's over in the east. But even it's not doing so great. We're going to pick up tonight under the rule of this guy named Heraclius. We talked about him a couple of times already. There he is. Handsome fellow. Heraclius. I just realized that I don't have the adventure hat in the room with me. I should be wearing the adventure hat for that. But Rome was in pretty bad shape. And this is about all that they had left. Which is a pretty big fraction, or a pretty small fraction of what they used to have. There's a lot of territory that they have lost, especially over here. They've lost all of Mesopotamia. They've lost Syria, Lebanon, parts of Egypt. They've lost most of the Balkans. It's just nasty for the Byzantines. And yet they survive. And the story of tonight is an interesting one because if we look at the two big empires prior to the arrival of the Muslim army, or the Umayyad Caliphate, or the Rashidun Caliphate, we have two big empires, the Persians and the Romans. And the Persians are going to be defeated and fall apart and cease to exist. And the Romans are going to be defeated and fall apart, and yet somehow they manage to hang on. And it's an interesting story, given the fact that the Romans lost substantially more of what you might call the functional part of their empire and were able to hold on, whereas the Persians, when they lost part of their empire, they fell apart. So it's just an interesting juxtaposition here. So why and how is the question. And the answer is not really too easy to point out. A lot of it is luck. Some of it is just the way that things rolled out of the dice. You know, they just rolled 20s when they needed to. And it's an interesting story. So Heraclius, this guy was the one that had basically saved Rome from the big war that they had with Persia in the early 600s. He had tried to put Rome back together and managed somewhat to get that done before the Rashidun Caliphate showed up, and then promptly lost big portions of the Middle East. And that's not going to go very well for his mental state. And by the time that he is at the end of his life in 640, he had recognized that he was going out the door, and he is going to leave his two sons. His two sons are named Heraclonus and Constantine III. He's going to leave them as emperors. Now, if you note, I'm not putting their name down here because, just to be for real, they don't make it very long. He dies, insert Western bias non-answer, correct, because they love Jesus. That's why. Because they love Jesus. They survive because they love Jesus. So Constantine III and Heraclonus are both fairly young. Constantine III is the older of the brothers, and he does have a family and some children. But neither of them are old adult people. You know, they're not in their 30s or 40s at this point, right? So Heraclius dies in 641, and his two sons take over. And this was actually not a very popular decision. Because he's actually going to leave his wife listed sort of on the bill as Empress Regent. And there had been a little bit of a scuttle about his wife because it turned out that she was also his first cousin. And while that wasn't necessarily against the rules, it was also kind of weird, and it was not what you might call a good move politically. The optics were pretty bad on this, right? So they were, the general population was not super excited about having her being regent over these younger rulers. And then Constantine III, the more potentially capable ruler, catches tuberculosis and dies about 6 months into his reign. So now we're left with the younger kid, who is this kid named Heraclonus, who doesn't have a wife and doesn't have any kids. And now we're left with the niece wife, or a kid. And there's a particular general at this point named Valentinius, not Valentius. Yeah, Valentinius. And he decides we just need to get rid of both of them. So niece wife has to go, and he's going to depose Heraclonus and begins a really weird and interesting trend because he's going to cut off Heracleonis's nose. Now, the idea here was that if you cut off their nose, they were somehow physically violated. And in that way, they were not fit to be emperor. But it's not as bad as killing them, right? So he's not committing assassination. He's just cutting off his nose. That's a new one, cutting off the other guy's nose to spite that guy's face. Yeah, kind of, sort of. Yeah, right? Jesus checks out. Did they get dowagered? Yep, there you go. I asked Jesus at the Elote cart if he was why Byzantines. Blah, blah. I asked Jesus at the Elote cart if he was why the Byzantines didn't fall. He said, "Si." Consumption is an equalizer. It is indeed. Imagine the coinage, right? With no nose. Yeah. I've heard that with blinding people, but not the nose cutting. Yeah, so blinding is another thing that happens later on, but the nose cutting thing is interesting. Does it go back to deforming someone to keep them from being high priest in Judaism? There is absolutely a religious element to it. There's absolutely a religious element. Because to be a priest, specifically the high priest, you had to be inviolate. And even today, this is something that a lot of people don't know, but when there's a new pope, the pope basically has to get checked to make sure that all of his parts are intact. And that includes someone basically giving him, well, I'll just say this, and you'll know what I mean. So the Pope has to be inviolate. Weird new trend. He was the TikTok influencer of his day, right, LC? Also, good to see LC. I don't think I said hello to you. What's up, Raveland? How's it going? If the high priest is inviolate, what color is the goodbye priest? Probably the other end of the spectrum, so probably red. Giving the Pope the once over. What up, Moose? Yup. I would not want that job. Neither would I. All right, you're doing this thing again where you're just sitting here on the floor and licking, and you're driving me crazy already. So you're either going to have to stop licking, or I'm going to put the break screen up and kick you out of the room. So I don't mind you being in here, and you're a giant rotten baby, and I'll scratch your tummy, but you've got to stop licking, because it's getting annoying. Yes, it's getting annoying, you big baby. You big baby. You're gonna give me sugars? Oh yes. Lick me. She's gotten into a habit of just like constantly licking. I'm thinking we might need to put her back on her allergy medication, because she's just itching and licking all the time. But that noise is like, it gets in my brain, and I can't stand it. I know that you can't hear her licking, but I can, and it is absolutely annoying. He gets a hernia test, so what's so bad about that? Well, it's a bit more than that. Hey, I just mentioned that, didn't I? Yeah. You want to go see Brittany? Good girl. Ugh. Poor puppy. Anyway. So, Constantine III is gone. Heraclius' niece/wife is gone. His youngest son is not dead, but has his nose chopped off. And that means he can't be emperor anymore. So, we're going to get a new emperor, who at this point is a pretty young kid, but his name is Constans II. Constans II. Now, he does rule for quite some time, being a young guy. So here's Constans as a wizened old gentleman who looks like Gandalf. He's got his big wicked beard down here. This is actually his younger son, who we'll talk about here in just a bit. But here's Constans. Constans is going to take over as a pretty young kid. And unfortunately, when things go wrong in the leadership position of Byzantium, the Muslim army is going to take advantage of this. And under Constans, well, Rome loses a lot of territory. They basically have to abandon Egypt. They lose all of the rest of their holdings that they have in Syria. They lose all of the holdings that they have left in Armenia, and this also cuts off their contact with Lazica. So basically this whole region right here that was sort of the last little holdout of sort of the Caucasian range part of Rome is going to go. And the line is going to be a lot narrower up here. But all of this is now completely gone. Oh, you can't even see that because I'm doing that too narrowly. All of this is now gone. He's just a man of constant sorrow. He has seen trouble all of his days. I mean, he did watch his uncle get his nose chopped off. That's a pretty rough way to come to the throne, right? So Constans is going to be under a regency for a while. There's going to be a point where Valentinius actually tries to revolt and install himself as emperor, but that gets defeated. He's just not in a good spot, right? If we're just being real and we're being honest, he's not in a good spot, right? He's in a tight spot, to go back to "O brother, where art thou?" He's in a tight spot. So it gets worse. The only thing that at this point the Byzantines really had going for them was that they had a really nice navy here in the Mediterranean. And they were able to use this to keep the shipping lanes open along the islands that they controlled here in the Mediterranean, and they could keep contact with other parts. So they still had this region right here around Carthage, and they still had some territory over here. I'm sorry, Carthage is over here, not over here. This is, I don't know what I'm thinking. This is Libya. This is Carthage over here. Anyway, they still had control of Carthage and the Exarchate of Africa, which was over here, but they've got this big navy, and they can shuttle themselves back and forth, and they're keeping trade open, and they're doing okay. Egypt hurts, though, when they lose it. And that's going to be all well and good until the year 655, because it doesn't take the Muslim armies very long to figure out that they also need a navy. And so they build a navy. And there's this gigantic battle in 655, which is called the Battle of the Masts. Like masts on a ship. And in this one naval battle, the Byzantines lose almost 500 ships. They are defeated, and their power in the Mediterranean gets greatly diminished, to the point that the Muslim fleet is going to be able to threaten them pretty much wherever they want to now. And that is a really bad situation to be in. That's even worse than the one that they were in, because now they have the threat of land attack and naval attack. And because they no longer have a navy that's large enough to threaten the Muslim fleet, now the Muslim fleet has all of the advantages of being able to supply their armies and block off trade or set up new trade or take over islands. And they do. The island of Cyprus, which is right here, that island goes to the Muslims. There are big fights here in Crete. The Byzantines do manage to hold on to that mostly. Island of Rhodes, some of these islands over here in this part of the world start getting threatened. When the Muslim navy becomes a big threat, this is sort of going to spell almost disaster for the Byzantines. Things are really looking bad. Now, not only is Constans losing ground, like literally losing ground, and not only has he lost naval superiority, there's a bit of a religious crisis going on. Now, as you might expect, while Christianity had its own issues, especially with doctrinal things, and we're not going to get too far into the doctrinal stuff because it really does get very convoluted and very weird, and you really have to know, or, well, let me put it this way, you have to be really interested in knowing this kind of stuff to really get into it. But there were a lot of arguments about heresy versus like Twin Peaks level of weird, more like debating the nature of Christ weird, and especially how a divine being and a physical body can exist in the same space. And there are so many arguments about this. What about his physical body? Does he have a physical divine body? Okay. Well, you can say they don't and move on to the next question, but these people are devout Christians, and that is their world, and that is their life, and getting it wrong might mean eternal damnation to them, so they're taking it pretty seriously. And at the time, Constans is going to wade into this large argument about something called monothelitism, which is whether or not Christ had one will or two wills. Does he have a divine will and a human will, or just one smashed together that's both but not one or the other? And the original Toxic Fandom Wars, Elsie, you're not too far from the truth with that metaphor. People got exiled from the Empire for this stuff. People got killed for this stuff. There were a lot of arguments about this stuff. Yeah, people literally died. Right. Like, for real, they did. And we're about to kill the Pope here in just a second. So Constans tries to wade into this debate, and he tries to get everybody to agree with his particular viewpoints, and they don't go over very well. The Pope in Rome especially does not like his solutions, and at this period of time, the Pope and the eastern part of Christianity were already having some problematic relationships. Right, there was still one church that was all the Christian church at that point, but the theocracy of Rome was changing in a significant way, whereas the quasi-theocracy of the Byzantines, where you have an emperor that's also leading the church, but also answering to the church, it gets really weird and convoluted. Basically, though, the Pope doesn't like Constans's attempt at settling this dispute. So he says, all right, we're going to arrest the Pope. So he sends some goons from Ravenna, which was the big capital city of Rome at that point in Italy, down to Rome to arrest the Pope. And the Pope gets arrested and sent into exile. And then later dies under some rather mysterious circumstances, right? So he's not necessarily in the picture anymore. But Constans is drawing a lot of criticism. He's lost just about everything they had left. Now he's picked fights with the Pope. His solution to Christological heretical issues is not widely accepted. And he starts worrying that his sons are going to revolt and kill him. Now, that in normal circumstances might not be something that we're really worried about, right? Like, your kids aren't going to kill you. But this is Rome. Let's be real. He's also worried that his brother's going to kill him. So he actually sends his brother into exile and has him killed very quietly as well. And then he decides, you know what I need to do? I just need to move. And I'm not gonna stay in Constantinople because it's just getting really stabby around here. So I'm gonna book it over here to Sicily. And this is a really weird situation because along the way he's basically going to do a tour of the empire. He's going to go, I'm going to go over to the Greeks and let's see what's going on over here in the Balkans. And he fights some battles against some Slavic people and pushes them out and has a big old hurrah, like, look, I've won a battle. And they're like, are you celebrating a battle? Cool. What about all the other stuff? He's, oh, don't worry about all that other stuff. I've got ready-made troops. And he's like, okay, so I've beaten these Slavic people over here in the Balkans. I'm going to send them over here to Anatolia, and they're going to be our new army over there. So to handle some of the invasion problems that they're having over here, just deport those people and send them over to the different part of the empire. They'll be loyal troops, right? Facepalm. This guy's kind of losing it at this point. He goes over to Italy. Yeah, he's going to hang out in Ravenna. We're going to do some cool stuff in Ravenna, and he's actually going to go down to the city of Rome. And this is actually a really weird moment because when the Emperor Constans goes to Rome and walks into the city of Rome, he's actually the first emperor to have walked in the city of Rome for almost 200 years, which is really weird. Called themselves Romans, but they didn't go to Rome. It's just a weird scenario. He gets met by the new pope, and the new pope loves this guy. Constans, yeah, this guy, he's my bro. I'm all down with his theocratic solutions to our issues, and Christological heresies are all settled now because he killed the guy that was in the spot before me and made sure that somebody that liked him got the job next. So yeah, I love this dude. And then he finally ends up down in Syracuse in Sicily, where he basically decides, you know what, I'm kind of done running the empire. I'm going to put my son on the throne as a, kind of a co-emperor, and I'm just going to chill down here and make really poor decisions for the rest of my life. And it turns out that wasn't really that long, because in 668, he's in his bath, and he had just made some pretty stupid decisions about some military tactics, and his chamberlain, who is filling up the bath for him, decides, you know what, I'm kind of done with this guy. And so the chamberlain takes the bucket that he was using to fill up the emperor's bath, and he beats the emperor to death with the bucket. So yeah, that's the end of Constans II. Death by bucket. What up, Girl Forest? I saw you earlier and I forgot to say hello to you. Moral of the story, don't forget to tip your chamberlain. Correct, right? These people literally hold your life in their hands, or a bucket, which could be your life depending on how angry they get, right? So, yeah. Assassination via bucket. Weird situation there. Now, one of the things that we have to discuss at this point is a development. Something called the themata system. There's some kicked the bucket joke here, but you're too pious to make such jokes. Well, there you go, Moose. I appreciate your piety and your willingness to refrain from making such low base puns as kicking the bucket. I don't think he kicked it, though. I don't know what was happening in the throes of death, though. He might have kicked it. I'm not sure. Right? Okay, so the themata system. First off, what is it? Well, around this time, there is a big reorganization of the Byzantine territory. Now, when did it start is actually a really difficult question to answer. There are some very big and very well-respected historians that say that the Thermata system was the creation of Heraclius. There are some very big and well-respected historians that say that it was the creation of Constance. And yet more say it was a slow evolution that didn't even get settled until the following emperor, this guy named Constantine IV, who we'll talk about in just a second. But we don't really know who started it. There are a couple of quotes in ancient historians that nod to things, but we really don't know exactly when. If you want my opinion, I would say that it was most likely under Heraclius because he was at least an intelligent commander of troops, because he was a general to begin with. And while he did usurp the throne, when he took the throne, he actually did good things with it, as opposed to the guy that was around before him. He did win the big war against the Persians, and had his army not been basically non-existent by the time that the Muslim invasion showed up, I think that he would have beaten them as well. Even with the incredibly limited amounts of troops that he had, he still put up a pretty good fight. He, to me, makes a much more good candidate than Constans, who was perpetually bad at just about everything that he did. So I think it's Heraclius. I don't have proof of that. Just a good speculation. So, what is the Thermata system? It's a reorganization. And what this does is completely overhauls the Roman governmental provincial system. It basically just says Rome no longer has provinces. Instead, what they had were themes. So themes, plural, like a theme or themata system. Also running down a theme. Running down a theme. There we go. So we have a theme instead of a province. Now, what's the difference between the two? Well, a province was ruled by a governor, right? Or one of the various titles that you might have as a Roman governor of a province, a praetor, propraetor, whatever you want to call it, right? It's going to take away that position totally. And instead of having a governmental provisional system or provincial system, you're going to have a military thematic system. And instead of having a governor, you're going to have a person called a strategos. And the strategos is going to be the head of a theme. And this is a military position. I played that game, right? Well, this is where we get our word strategy from, right? So a strategos is going to be the ultimate governing body or, position in a given theme. Now, individual cities are going to still have city boards or, mayors or things like that. But the really powerful figure in a given location is going to be a military leader. So in effect, the themata system sort of puts all of the Byzantine Empire under military rule. Now, if you're seeing what's happening in the larger world of the Byzantine Empire, you might see why this was a decision that was made, because they were literally being attacked all the freaking time. And this reorganization was going to bring with it an elimination of many things that had been put in place for, at this point, centuries of time. They're going to undo Roman military precedent that goes back 800 years almost in this particular period, because they're going to basically get rid of a standing army. Now, here's how they do this. So Rome is going to take soldiers, and when you join the military, you're going to get put in a piece of land basically nearby where you live. And you're going to be given land as your payment, and the profits from that land are, your pay for being in the army. But you live there. You farm there, you do your business there, and whenever the strategos calls, you go get your armor and you go show up for duty. So this is sort of like what we call in America the National Guard. Right? You're not a permanent standing army. You're living in a location, and when the call goes out, you gear up and go fight the bad guy. Now, there are a lot of benefits to doing it this way. The biggest one is you were putting people directly where they... Well, I didn't say that the right way. You're putting them where they're going to defend, right? The previous Roman system in the military took people basically en masse, right? So if you were in Syria, you would have a local military leader. You would go sign up for the army. They would give you pay, and you'd get put in a unit of people from Syria. But then the Roman government could send you wherever it wanted to in the empire. You might be a unit in Syria that's fighting in northern Africa. You might be a unit in Syria that's going down to Egypt, or that's going over to Turkey or Greece or Italy. And let's just be honest, right? If I'm a Syrian and I'm fighting in Italy to protect Italians, I don't really care so much, right? I care as long as the money's there. But if the money dries up, like it had so many times in the Roman world, you don't really give a crap about fighting. But if you're defending your family who's on the other side of that hill, you're going to fight your butt off. I have a vested interest in defending this piece of land. That is exactly it, KP. That is exactly it. This is my home. I will fight here. Right? Some serious... Yeah, exactly. Right? So you now fight where you live. And that is going to motivate people a lot more than, well, you should go fight because it's the Roman thing to do, right? Now, this is also going to come with a substantial relief of paying the military from the Roman government, right? Now, the government doesn't have to dole out money anymore because they're giving people land. Now, you got a nominal amount of pay to make sure that you kept up your gear and stuff like that, but you're not getting like a yearly salary. You're basically just living on government land, and you're farming government land or being a blacksmith on government land or doing whatever you're going to do on government land. So what this does with the rest of this money is lets the government spend it on other things. And one of the things that the government decides to spend it on are castles. Now, we've talked a lot in the past about forts and, military holdfasts and things like that. But this is really going to be the beginning of the time in especially the eastern part of Europe where fortified positions that are scattered out and not necessarily the biggest things in the world are going to start populating all over the place. Because each theme is going to have at least one of these fallback spots. That is something with walls, something that you can put a lot of people in, something that you can defend against the bad guys when they show up, and something that is going to be capable of holding enough supply so basically ride out the attack. So we're going to be able to build more stuff with this money that we're saving from paying all these troops. And this is going to have a completely new shift in the way that Rome starts fighting its enemies. So this new theory basically relies on these castles as things that you have to take, right? So let's say we are a Muslim army, right? And we are invading Anatolia, right? So there are about 8 or 9 big themes that spread out over Anatolia at that point. And each one of these has 3, maybe 4 castles, right? So you're invading here, and you run into a castle. You kind of need to take that castle, because if you continue like down here, you're going to run into another castle. And now you're going to have enemies that you know are there. They're trained soldiers, and you've left them behind you. And they're closer to the source of your supply line than you are. And it's never a good idea to just invade foreign countries without solid supply lines. Looking at you, Russia, right? So you kind of have to stop at each one of these castles, and you kind of have to fight it out. And when a strategos sends the call out for people to assemble at the castle, he's also going to send word to all of the other castles in the area. So the people back here are going to be alerted that the enemy is over this way, and they're going to start mustering their armies and making their way down to additional choke points along invasion routes to basically clog up the invasion routes. So this is going to basically let the enemy have free reign of the farmland or the villages and do their thing and do whatever, because if they can't take the castle, they really can't go any further. So when the enemy ends up having to leave because they can't hold on their siege longer, because eventually support's going to start showing up for these people that are besieged, they're going to have to retreat. And then the people in the castle who are, at this point probably more or less okay, they're just going to go back out and start doing their life again. Now, that doesn't mean that these invasions don't hurt, but this new system is going to preserve the Byzantine world. And this is a really, really important, definitive, important change. And this is going to start filtering its way over and pretty much becomes a carbon copy of what feudalism is during the medieval period over in Western Europe. So this is why the Byzantines are able to hold on where the Persians aren't. The Persians were very mobile. They had a lot of cavalry. They did not have as much when it came to the way of really good, broad pasture lands that could be turned into farmlands if need. Their water supplies were not as plentiful as the Romans, and they were also just in really bad luck. So is it carbon copy or a template? Template is the word that I should have said. That would have meant that the people in Western Europe were a carbon copy of the East. Thank you for the correction there. So this themata system is a really, really important change. And it's going to go on to be vital to the survival of the Byzantine world. So it's really important. Now, on with our string of emperors. After Constans is beaten to death with a bucket, his son, Constantine IV, is going to take over. Now, Constantine IV, I really wish I had the adventure hat. I don't, but I should be wearing the adventure hat right now. Constantine IV thinks that he's kind of a big deal. Now, this image here is from a church that you can go visit if you want to. It's in Ravenna. The adventure hat is it's up front because I did yard work over the weekend, and I usually wear the adventure hat when I'm outside doing yard work. Constantine IV bans buckets. There shall be no more buckets used in the empire, especially in the presence of the emperor. That'd be great. I would laugh my butt off if that were the case. But adventure hat is for adventures, not mere yard work. The original adventure hat's purpose was to keep my ears and my head from sunburning. that is the ultimate base level use of the adventure hat. But it was that before it went on adventures with me. Anyway, so Constantine IV is kind of a big deal. And if you go to the city of Ravenna and you go to the church of Saint Apollinare, you can see this mosaic. And here on the wall, we have our good old Constantine IV. And here we go. Here's his name, Constantinius. Oh, yeah. Because here he is, and look how cool he is. He's giving money to the church. What up, turtles? Is that One Punch Man? Nope, there's glasses on that. That Constantine IV is so hot right now. He kind of thinks that he is. He does kind of think that he is. So he gives a lot of money to churches. He does a whole bunch of stuff. Here's a picture of him as an older man on a coin. I don't know what you want to call that, but there you go. This coin, by the way, comes from the Istanbul Archaeological Museum. Once again, let me reiterate how genuinely ecstatic that I was to get into the Istanbul Archaeological Museum and find their numismatic displays, where I was able to take photographs of so many coins of Roman emperors. I am so excited about this, and you can ask the mods how excited that I am, because I talk about it all the time. Saitama also came to my mind when you saw that emote. Okay, so I wasn't the only one. Thank you, Kyle. He was texting the mod chat from Turkey. I was like, holy crap. In my headcanon, Adventure Hat causes adventures and is not merely dragged along with them. Oh, see, now that's interesting headcanon. Is it funny because headcanon is where a hat would go? I don't know. Maybe that's just a weird potential pun there. I don't actually mind doing yard work. What I mind is when it gets ridiculously hot and I can't handle being outside and finishing the yard work. But like, I actually really like mowing the lawn. It's kind of a mind adventure. I get to like zen out, right? So maybe I have a mental adventure. It's only headcanon in the sense that yeah, pretty much. So what is Constantine IV going to do? Well, as soon as he becomes emperor, there are several really big immediate threats. Number one, there is a revolt in Sicily. One of his father's generals over there is like, wait, we're not the capital? I thought we were the capital because the emperor was living here. We should revolt. And that gets put down pretty quickly. Honestly, thanks to the Pope. The Pope who's like, hey, I love this family. It's really unfortunate that my guy got killed with a bucket, but I'm going to help his son out too because I don't want to end up like the guy before me. Please don't exile me. Anyway, so the Pope actually sends some troops down to help end this rebellion. The Umayyads are going to press the attack, specifically with their newfound naval advantage. They're going to be taking cities along the coastlines. Here, along the coastline of Anatolia, several more of these islands here in the Aegean, and they're going to get into position where they might even be able to strike at the good old capital of Constantinople, where Constantine IV is ruling. Now, the Slavs are also going to take advantage of this, and they are going to attack down here into the Balkan Peninsula, especially right over here in the region of Thessalonica, which was, at that point, the second largest city that the Byzantines had in Greece, other than Athens. So this is like all out bad. We've got a rebellion. We've got the Umayyads creeping up on the shoreline. And we've got the Slavs pressing in Greece. Ask Churchill how easy it is to strike that city from the water. Well, they shot the city up to pieces. It was the Gallipoli problem that was the problem. When they landed, it was the problem. That weird little peninsula. Yeah. It's that weird little peninsula that you just can't get around. Old Gallipoli. We just passed the 100-year mark of that a few years ago. I remember there's a big to-do about it. I've never actually been down to the Gallipoli site. I wonder why. I've been to Turkey twice now, and like you would think that would be a place where I would go, but I don't know. Maybe next time. It gives me another reason to go if I want to go to Turkey. I don't have the time or the money for that right now, but anyway. So Constantine IV is in trouble. Things are looking pretty bad. And it gets really bad in 674. In 674, the Arabs are going to launch a combined force siege of Constantinople, land and sea. Now, this is bad, and it's fairly dire. And for a little while, it even looks like this is going to be potentially the end. It gets really rough, and the Greeks have to break out their secret weapon. That's right, they shot party poppers at them. No, this is what's known as Greek fire. What up, Snowlight? Good to see you. How's things? How's it going? Yeah, Greek yogurt? No, this is much hotter than Greek yogurt. This is Greek fire. And it is basically ancient napalm. Yeah, and KP just hit it with the ancient napalm. So it was a liquefied accelerant that was shot past a candle with a light on it that would spew fire at the other boats. And when the Arabs would attack on the sea, the Greek Navy would outfit themselves with Greek fire and go out and basically spray sticky fire all over the bad guys. And there were some fights against the walls. The Theodosian walls held, and I just realized that I have another great opportunity to share pictures of the Theodosian walls, which I did last time and I didn't do it. Go sue me. I wonder if this Greek fire sometimes destroyed their own ship. I guess it's potentially possible, and I'm sure that it did eventually. But they also employed actual fire ships, ships that were small and fast and had big, big sails, and they would just sort of aim them at the bad guys and light them on fire and sail them into the middle of their, ship. What's the word that I'm looking for here? Formation. And spread fire that way. It's getting hot in here. It's time to sink some boats. What up, Junk Collector? That's good. I'm on fire. The fire is sticking to me. Pretty much. I wonder if it was actually Turkish fire, like how some people say Greek yogurt is actually Turkish yogurt. Oh, now that's a hot take. Late bloomer. Also, hey, a late bloomer. Good to see you. Hope you're sure having a good one. Well, I won't wade into the yogurt battle. That gets sticky. See on there? See on there? Anyway. So, for 4 years, from 674 to 678, the Muslim army is going to try its darndest to break into Constantinople. Now, this is not a 100% constant siege. It's not like they're literally there for 4 years. But for 4 years, the Navy is acting in some sort of blockade against the Byzantines, and the army is constantly causing attacks against the walls or against other locations that are sending supplies in. The Byzantines are having to sneak in stuff. They're having to grow food within the city walls. They're having to rely on stored goods for a little while. It's a really tough spot for the Byzantines to be in. And while they're bottled up like this, the rest of the empire is basically fending for itself. And Constantine, who maybe thought that he was kind of hot, is doing a lot of praying at this point, right? Because they're not necessarily doing a lot of good stuff. Now, what ends up happening is that the Muslims are going to end up breaking out into war among their own people. So this is, if you'll remember us talking back before Dragon Con, there's this particular thing called the fitna, where there is a crisis within Islam. And because of this, the leader of the Umayyads at this point, this guy named Muawiyah, is going to withdraw his troops and sign a treaty with the Byzantines. Now, this is actually a pretty big deal, because this is the first time where the Byzantines had withstood a substantial Arab assault. All of the previous times before this, they had fought and fought and fought and eventually lost. Now they had fought and fought and fought and ended up winning. Now, they didn't win that good old-fashioned decisive victory, but they held out and the other side had to retreat. So they're not going to get the world's best terms over this. Basically, the Umayyads are going to abandon the land that they took in the Aegean, the islands here in the Mediterranean, and the territory in Anatolia. And in exchange, the Byzantines have to pay them money every year to keep them from invading, right? You know, a Turkish woman who's always angry when she sees Greek food and says, "Hey, it's Turkish." That's a hot take. It's a really hot take. I'm going to leave that one alone for the moment. We don't have enough time to delve into that. Food drama is serious drama. It is. It is serious drama. Now, Constantine IV breaks out a first win, right? This is like a big deal. And he gets really full of himself at this point, because he thinks like, I am God's gift to the Byzantines. I won the war. And, you know, not really understanding that he didn't win it so much as he didn't lose it. But he gets the big head. So what are we going to do? Well, now that the Muslims are gone, let's go fight all of the wars over in the Balkans that we've been trying to fight. Let's go fight the Slavs. We're going to go save Thessalonica. And so they get down and they basically push the Slavic armies out of range of Thessalonica, where they had been for the entire time, that entire 4 years, where Constantinople was all bottled up. So was Thessalonica. It does have a port, Thessalonica, so it's not like they weren't able to resupply. But they were also bottled up by the Slavs. We're going to push them back. Woo, we're going to beat up the Slavs. Woo, we got it. Let's go fight the Lombards over in Italy. The Lombard kingdom sat basically right here in the northern part of Italy and was a constant threat to both Ravenna and the city of Rome. Let's go over there and beat up the Lombards. And they go over to Italy and they beat on the Lombards. And the Lombards go, "We're really tired of you doing this. Can we just make a treaty and be done with it?" And the Byzantines are like, "We're going to call it a win," even though the treaties that they made with the Lombards were mutually disagreeable. Neither side really liked them very much. It was not a win for anybody, which honestly kind of makes it a really good compromise. Let's go beat up the Bulgars, because I'm not done fighting. I won one thing. I kind of tied one thing. I'm surely going to win this next one. No. You've exhausted your armies. And when Constantine IV goes to fight the Bulgars, who were invading this region right here, he gets beaten. And he gets beaten so badly that he has to, in a treaty, formally recognize that the Bulgars control this territory. So he has to officially recognize the Bulgar kingdom, which is not what he wanted to do at all. And this is going to kind of kind of be the point where he decides, you know what, maybe I should have just stopped with the win. And he kind of calms down for a little while. Wars in the Balkans, that's crazy. Rank 3 things: Greece, Turkey, and Mississippi. Based on what? Like places that I've been? I've been to all 3 of these places. Food, or kindness, or racism. There are lots of things that I could rank these. What's my criteria? Whenever they need an ego boost, they beat up some Slavs. Elsie, that's very accurate. How much I like them. That's pretty hard. How much I like them. I mean, as weird as Mississippi is, and as much as it does frustrate me, and as much as I don't like it, I do actually like it. Like, if I had to choose where I was going to live in the United States, as it is right now, Mississippi would not be the worst place to live. Most of my friends live here. My family lives here. I'm going to modify that with my prerogative to say I like the history in, and do it that way. I like the history in Turkey the most, Greece the next most, and Mississippi the third most. But that should not be considered the least, because I really do like the history here, especially the Native American history here, which is truly fascinating. And I might go see some of that as a part of a birthday gift to myself. So, which would I rather live in? Cost of living wise, Turkey would be the easiest place to live. Turkey, then Mississippi, then Greece. Things in Greece are actually fairly expensive. Well, it depends on what part of Greece you're living in. If you're living in the western or the eastern part of Greece, it's pretty expensive. If you're living in the west or down in the Peloponnese, you can get by on very, very little. But if you're living in Athens or Thiva or Thessaloniki, it's expensive. That's also where all the big toll highways are over in the eastern part. You get over to the west, you can drive all day and not hit a toll road. I tell you what, like, if we're looking at Greece, like, this region of Greece right around here is some of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my life. Like, some of the scenery down on, like, this southern part of the Peloponnesian Peninsula, it's just stunning. It's just beautiful places. Like, if I could hang out down here, let me put on the borders and labels and stuff. Like, this is the city of Sparta. Pylos over here, right? But like down here in Scala or Tunisia, like I wouldn't mind living down there. There's a lot of cool places. Kalamata was pretty cool. I would not mind living down here, or even over here, like Argos. Argos was a cool city. I would live in Argos or Nafplion. Yeah, I mean, oh, there's a really cool castle. Can I see it? Yeah. Like, this big castle right here is freaking amazing. Ooh, do they have that where you can walk around in it? Google Earth, you are winning the day. Look at you. I mean, look at that. Look at that view. This is Palmyra Fortress, by the way. Anyway, we're getting way off track. Greece is a beautiful place. It really, really is. Not that Turkey isn't. Turkey is crashing. Turkey has a big problem with inflation. It does, absolutely. But I'd be using American money, and I'd be pulling my American money out of my American bank account to get lira, and I'd be living like a king. I was in Turkey earlier in the year, and really nice hotels were like $15, $20 a night. We get it. Everywhere and everything was fire. I have been to places that I don't like. There are places in Greece that I would not want to live, period. And ironically speaking, me saying, oh, I'd like to live in Argos, I had one of the most racist encounters I've ever had in my life with a hotel clerk in Argos. He was shockingly racist. And I did not care for that interaction at all. There are parts of Turkey that I would not want to live in. Not everywhere in the world is amazing, but I've seen things that are amazing, and I'm very grateful that I have gotten to see those. So, anyway, we're so far off track right now. What happened in Argos? So, I guess this is a free adventure hat story because I don't have the adventure hat on me. I was in Greece with Mac and a lab coat, one of the mods here in the chat, and we checked into the hotel in Argos, and the desk clerk was a younger guy, probably in his mid-20s, and I'm very outgoing and I'll talk to anybody, and I actively try to talk with people and have meaningful interactions with people, especially people doing service jobs, because number one, it helps me remember that they are actual people, and number two, I'm sure that they appreciate being treated like a person instead of a flesh bag that's running some sort of menial task, right? So I was talking with the guy at the desk, and things are going pretty well, and he was asking us what we were doing in Argos because, it was like off season for tourism, and we're two Americans, and Americans don't typically go to Argos for vacation, and so I explained that we were doing archaeology stuff, and we were looking at historical sites. And he's like, oh, there's good stuff. And he's like, just going to go to Palmyra? I'm like, yeah, we're going to go to Palmyra. We've already been up to the site of Argos, which is actually really, really interesting. There's some really cool temple remains there. There's a big temple to Hera up on the hill that was the Acropolis. I'm getting off track. Anyway. So he said, well, are you just coming to Argos, or are you going to go to other places? And I was like, well, we're going to leave here, we're going to go over here, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. But we came from Athens, and then I started recounting all of the, all of the places that we had been. And I said, we spent our first night in Theba, which is ancient Thebes. So if you know anything about like the Mycenaean period or the Greek classical age where the city-states were all fighting with each other, Thebes was a really big and important city. And he just got like immediately mad. And he was like, Theba, why were you in Theba? And I was like, because there's a lot of really cool history there. Like there are tumuli there that the Mycenaeans built 4,000 years ago. It's really freaking cool. And let me be clear here. I don't like using this term, and I am going to quote him, not me. And he said, well, that place is it's a crappy place, and it's just full of, I'll say it this way. He used a derogatory term that starts with a G to describe Roma people. He's like, that place is just full of these people, and they're horrible, and that city is just run over with those people, and I can't believe you went there. And I was just like, yo, back off the gas, Captain, right? We were having a fine conversation, and then you just went like way off the deep end, right? And I was kind of like trying to backpedal my way out of the conversation, and Mac in a lab coat had literally just stopped talking and was just kind of like and he was like, you really shouldn't go back there. Like you should just You should, like, that whole region, just don't even stay in that region at all. And I was just like, okay, we're going to go up to our room and get settled in. And we kind of just, like, bugged out. And, like, that dude got real mad for a reason that I can only assume was super racism. Ugh. People. Well, maybe misplaced anger was part of it, but like when you're funneling that through racism as a way of channeling that anger, it's still racism, and it was pretty rough. Anyway, weird stuff aside, back to Constantine. So Constantine did some stuff, won a battle, won another battle, and then just lost and decided that he was going to take a break. And at that point, he was pretty old, so he just decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and die. And he was replaced on the throne by his son, Justinian II, who is this guy. Old Justinian. Woo-hoo. He takes over in 685. There's Justinian. There's another picture of Justinian that doesn't look like him at all. Like, I don't know why his portraits look so different on these coins. But he looked kind of like an alien in this one. But yeah, he's got the nice coiffed that they photoshopped it, right? This is an AI generated image of Justinian, and they put it on the coin, right? So this is like mid-journeyed Justinian. Anyway, so this guy is... Oh, if I go back here to the picture, this photo right here, this guy right here is a young boy Justinian. That's in the makeup here with his larger extended family and his dad, Constantine IV. Constantine IV, by the way, ends up getting sainted. He's a saint in the Eastern Church. They had an intern make the second one, right? Right? So Justinian II, what's he going to do? He takes over in 685, and he goes, you know what? We've sat on our hands long enough. We need to take the fight to the Muslims. We need to attack them. Okay, this is not wrong that they had never attacked the Muslims directly. Whether or not this was the best time, we'll see. So he decides that he's going to attack over here in the region of Armenia. The Armenian kingdom was still full of a lot of Christian people that were suffering quite heavily under the rule of the Arabs, or so the Byzantines thought. Keep that in mind for just a second. The Byzantines looked at Armenia and they're like, there are Christian brothers over there. We need to go liberate them from the evil Muslim army. So he packs up, he goes over, and he's going to start fighting. And he actually does manage to retake part of Armenia. And he's like, okay, we've got some momentum going. What about Cyprus? Let's focus on Cyprus. Let's take back Cyprus. So they go fight at Cyprus. They have, at this point, rebuilt some of their navy. They're going to take the fight down to Cyprus. And while they don't win decisively at Cyprus, they do basically take half of the territory. And they say to the Muslims, we're going to split the profits from Cyprus. So you get half the tax revenue, we get half the tax revenue. Is that okay with you? And the leader of the Muslim army at this time is the Caliph Marwan, who is this guy. So this is old Marwan here. And Marwan's like, yeah, that's okay. We can split Cyprus. Marwan's got things playing in the background. He's spinning plates in his mind here. What about the Balkans? Okay, so we're going to beat up and we're going to retake part of Armenia. Okay, we've got some momentum going. We're going to take part of Cyprus back and we're going to get some tax revenue back. Okay, we're going. He was also successful in relocating some Christian communities that were down here, especially in Lebanon and parts of Syria. He's going to convince the Arabs to let those people move into Anatolia, and this is positive because that's more people willing to fight, and we're going to put them on the front lines. By the way, Marwan was interested in letting them go because they had been constant thorns in his side. They had basically been perpetual rebellious figures, and he figured, look, if they're going to fight me, at least they won't be fighting me inside my own lines. They'll be on the other side of the battle lines, and I can know where they are. They're not going to like attack me while I'm sleeping or some junk like that. So this was kind of a tactical maneuver. But Justinian is going to call this a win. All right, now we've really got some momentum going. Let's go over here. We're going to fight some Slavs in the Balkans. All right, let's go beat them up. And he's going to go over and he's going to finally relieve, ultimately now at this point, the threat to Thessalonica. The Slavs are decisively defeated, and he's going to move thousands of them over here into Anatolia with their other Slavic brothers that had been deported by Constantine IV. And he goes, all right, now we've got a Slavic army on our side, not just a few battalions. We've got a whole army, and they're totally our buddies. And now with these guys and our army, we can really stick it to Marwan. And this is where things go wrong, because it looks like the Byzantines are like right on the cusp. They've built an army. They're winning some fights. They're putting their dukes back up, right? And oh boy, does Justinian mess this up. When he starts trying to reorganize Armenia, he's going to try to bring them under the Thamata system. And this is also going to bring them under some new religious jurisdictions that they don't particularly care for very much. The Armenians had traditionally had a lot of localized self-rule. They had not very frequently been directly controlled by either the Romans or earlier by the Persians. They had been vassal kings of both of those. They didn't necessarily like this new reorganization thing. And the Armenians look to the Umayyad Caliphate and they go, hey, Marwan, look, here's the deal. We don't really like you. And Marwan's like, I'm aware. You literally threatened to kill me if I ever step foot in your country. And they're like, yeah, we did. And that stands, by the way. We don't want you up here at all. And we will totally try to kill you if you show back up. But here's the deal. We also really don't like these new religious changes that have been coming out of the Byzantines, and they're trying to completely reorganize our government over here. We really don't like that either. So can you make us a better offer? For example, if you leave us alone and we pay you taxes, will you agree to this deal? And Marwan's like, wait. But you're Christians. And they're like, yeah, but we don't really like them. He's like, but you know I'm a Muslim, right? And they're like, but that's what the deal is for, right? If you will treat us the way that we would like to be treated, we'll make a deal with you because this guy's never going to agree to that. And Marwan's like, yeah, we'll totally come back. And Armenia basically jumps ship and invites the Umayyads back in. And man, Justinian is having a fit about this. Is just like completely befuddling. Why would they do that? Why would Christians betray Christians? And they look at Justinian and they go, because you're the wrong kind of Christian, bud. And it just gets really nasty. So now Justinian has to do something because now he's losing that momentum. And he's gotta get it back. Where's the mojo? Where's the old 1-2 punch? Let's go attack them. We're going to take our Slavic army, who are totally our friends. We're going to go over and we're going to fight Marwan. and this is a big old battle at a place called Sebastopolis, and this is in 692. At Sebastopolis, things go wrong, and they go pretty wrong. They show up on the battlefield. Byzantines. You know, like epic rap battles of history. Byzantine army! And Marwan goes, oh, do I see Slavs over there? And his advisors say, yeah, the vast majority of the army over there is actually deported Slavs that have been moved to Anatolia. And Marwan goes, can we buy them? And his advisors are like, I mean, we can try. So here comes messages from the Umayyad camp over to the Slavic camp. And they're like, hey, Slavic people. And they're like, hi, Arab people. And they go, do you like the Byzantines? And they're like, I mean, they're not our favorite folks in the world. And they gave us some land, but they did deport us. And we're not like natural friends. I don't send them a Christmas card if that's what you're asking. And Marwan goes, hey, can we maybe bribe you to switch sides? And the Slavs are like, go on. So this is what happens. They get in the fight. The Slavs switch sides. And now you have two armies versus a very small Byzantine army. And it gets bad. Sebastopolis is a total defeat of the Byzantines. And Justinian is pissed. Oh, is he so mad. He barely gets out. When he gets back to a stable position that he can defend, he basically gets raided by Aristotle. Is that not why you are here? Aristotle. What up, man? How's it going? How are you all? If you lovely people that are in my chat prior to the raid are not already following this guy, Aristotle, you got to go give him a follow. Dude's intelligent. He's really funny. He talks philosophy. He's a cool dude. You got to give him a follower. A follower, as we would say here. For those of you that are coming in and don't know who I am, hello. My name is Shane. I teach history and sociology in college. On stream, we talk history, and we try to make fun out of history, and sometimes we literally just make fun of history. We're currently making fun of this guy named Justinian II, who just got punked really bad by his opponent, the Umayyad Caliph, Marwan. And he lost a big battle at this place called Sebastopolis in 692. So bad that when he gets back to his defensible position, he decides, I'm going to throw all my generals in jail, because clearly it was their fault. So that's the kind of fun stuff that we talk about here in the chat. We'll diverge. We'll go off and we'll talk about weird things, movies or TV or something I read in the news or whatever. I mean, we just try to have a good time, right? Because life's too short to not have a good time if we can. So who else came in with it? We got Eva. What's up, Agni? Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're having a great one. Vipers, welcome, welcome. Noger is here. The Noger. These are all good people, and you should all go and follow all these people. I'll do shout-outs here in just a second when I take a sip of tea. All right, who all we got? Evolve Yourself TV does chess, does meditation, does philosophy. Go give him a follow. Noger Zero does philosophy, reads papers in a way that takes really complex stuff so that you can understand it. Go give him a follow. Smart dude. We've got the Lumpy Dragon Potato, who builds amazing things in Minecraft, not Minecrafts. He builds amazing Minecrafts. What's the plural? Like, can you say it that way? Is it Minecrafts? Do you call your buildings Minecrafts? Anyway, he's a Minecraft streamer. And he's a cool dude. And he's also very, very intelligent. So, no plural. No plural. We don't do plurals here. Everything is just a Minecraft, singular. Um, go give Lumpy a follow. Agni also does cop out answers. Oh wow! I must have missed some. I must have missed some spicy there. We've also got the Nixolotl in the room, who does art and animation on stream. You got to go give Nix a follow, who is a delightful streamer. I don't submit to other people's words. Everybody plays their own game, right? We can whatever we build. We call whatever we build a build, boringly enough. See, but like, what if you have 5 builds? Couldn't you say that I have 5 Minecrafts? Because I've crafted these things. They are a Minecraft. You could maybe pluralize. I mean, I know that it's not Minecrafts. I'm just trying to make it work, Lumpy. Like, that's a lot cooler than just calling it builds. I know that Minecraft is the game. I'm whatever, people. Just win. Just win. You win, okay? I was trying. You win, right? You can't make it work. Stop trying to make Minecraft's work or happen. It's happened. That's what it says in Mean Girls, right? Stop trying to make Minecraft's happen. It's not going to happen. Congratulations, by the way. I am forever going to say that now. Just to spite all of you. Because this is my channel and I can totally do that. The collective noun for Minecrafts is a waste. Oh, Vipers with the hot take. Hot take. That's a spicy meatball. Oh my gosh. Anyway, these are all great people. Go give them all follows. I'm hanging around in their chats almost all the time. So, well, not almost all the time, but you do the thing. And Raveland wants to see the puppy, who was actually just here a moment ago. Let me call the puppy. The puppy is currently outside. That's why she was not coming. When she comes back inside, I will summon her. Your stream schedule will be disrupted heavily soon because of major real-life shifts. Oh, Lumpy, I hope that those are positive real-life shifts. You don't need to disclose things if you don't feel like you need to, but I hope that these are positive. Yes, all of it. Excellent. This is good news, and I am happy for you. I'll figure it out later on, but as long as it's good, this is all good. Et manja, et manja, et manja. I don't know what that is, but okay. Huzzah! Indeed. So, just to give everybody a heads up of who we're talking about, this is Justinian II, Byzantine emperor, the guy that we're talking about. And this is Marwan, our Umayyad Caliph. There we go. Now, what had just happened was Justinian had deported a whole bunch of Slavic people who were supposed to be on his side. Marwan bribed them to switch sides in the middle of the battle, and now Justinian got hammered at Sebastopolis, and he's very angry with Slavic people. You got to go walk the Lala. Have a good stream. All right, Aristotle, take it easy, man. Thanks for the raid. Hope you're having a good one. Lala, by the way, a delightful puppy in her own right. So, Justinian gets back to base camp, puts all of his generals in jail. And then he decides, I'm going to kill every Slavic person that I could find. And kind of goes on a bit of a Slavic genocide. And is basically trying to punish all of the Slavic people for their betrayal. And he is really actively killing lots of people. Sounds like he's Putin on airs. Oh, man. Anyway, so this does not go over very well, right? Maybe Stalin for time. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, so he gets back to Constantinople and basically has to show up in shame. He's going to try to reassert some of his dominance by once again wading into church affairs. The Pope in the West doesn't care for that very much and speaks out against him and says, look, you are clearly not in your right mind. You don't need to do all of this stuff. And so he's like, go arrest the Pope. But nobody does. And people are kind of like, dude, you're way overreacting right here. You need to take a breath. You need to back off the anger just a bit. Take a breath, chill out. Let's just regroup a little bit. Maybe we can come back a little bit later. And he goes, oh no, if you're not going to do what I'm going to tell you to do, I'm just going to make life heck for everybody. So let's reorganize land and tax. We need more soldiers. So I'm going to take land from the rich people and give it to poor people. And the poor people are like, huzzah, this sounds great. And he's like, and then I'm going to tax the crap out of the poor people. And they're like, oh, about that, can we not take the land if we are going to get taxed like crazy? And they're like, no, you're just going to go do it because I'm tired of not having money and not having enough soldiers. So I'm going to make money and soldiers, and you're going to get sent over here, and you're going to work this territory, and I'm going to tax the crap out of you. And by the way, rich people, you're going to give them the land. So now he's made the church mad. He's made the Slavs pretty mad for the whole genocide thing. He's made the nobles in the Byzantine Empire pretty mad by taking their land away from them. And he's made the poor people mad by basically forcing them into taxation. Yeah, I'll rob from the rich and give it to the poor, but now you're rich, so I'm going to take it from you too. Right? You need to calm down there, T-Swift, right? like, chill out, dude. Take a breath. Bit of a genocide you're committing there, buddy. Need to calm down there. Nobody likes Justinian II right now. Nobody at all. So, what are we to do? Well, what are you to do when the emperor is a giant jerk? You get rid of the emperor. There's a general named Leontius who was at Sebastopol and had been put in jail. And about 3 years after the Battle of Sebastopol, Leontius gets out of jail. And as a way to try to make up to him, Justinian gives him the position of strategos down in Greece, the theme of Hellas. And so he's on to us, Leontius, exactly. So Leontius gets down to the Greek territory that he's running, and he's like, okay, now I need to catch up on everything that's been going on for the last few years. Holy crap, this guy sucks. So he gets down to Greece and almost immediately turns back around and decides it's time to get rid of the emperor. So he gets back up to Constantinople at the head of a bit of a rebellion, and he decides that he's not going to go with the bucket. He's not going to assassinate him with the bucket. He's going to go with the nose chopping. And he chops off Justinian's nose. Now, what's really interesting about this situation, Justinian, by the way, gets the nickname Rhinometus, which means whose nose has been cut or whose nose has been slit. And Justinian gets sent to exile in the Crimean Peninsula up here. And he gets a golden nose made for himself that he wears as an adornment. So it kind of like just sits on his face and it kind of like clamps in. And he starts acting like he's going to take the throne back. He's like, I've got a nose again. I'm back. Like a bionic nose or something, right? Anyway, this is Leontius. Good old Leontius. Now, he's going to take over as emperor because Justinian II is currently out of commission. Tots legit knows. And nothing ever happened in the Crimea ever again, right? Nothing ever happens over in Crimea, right? Especially not until, you know, all that other stuff that happens there, like wars and charges of the Light Brigade and invasions by Putin and bullcrap annexation things and stupid ballots that say, do you want to be independent or you want to join Russia? And don't include things like, would you like to stay part of Ukraine? Which you would think that would be a part of the ballot if you were doing an annexation vote in Ukraine where you were talking to people that were Ukrainian citizens. You might want to include that on part of the ballot, but you don't give them that, and they're like, heck no, we don't want to be independent. And the option other than that is, I guess, Russia, and then nobody really votes, so you rigged vote anyway, and then you just say, look, they said that they want to be part of our country. Jerks. Leaving the scope for a sequel trilogy, somehow Justinian returned. Vipers, we're not going to talk about it tonight, but you'll be happy to know that in 705, he comes back. The no's have it, indeed. But how do you really feel about it? I can't say that actively because this channel is not marked M for mature. But if you want to, you can contribute to the All Opinion Hat stream, where I'm certainly going to say curse words. So, by the way, that will be not saved as a VOD. So, and some people are like, wait, Shane's going to cuss on stream? I'm totally going to spend points on that. Anyway, Leontius, what's he going to do? Well, he's a general, so he's going to try to do some fighting. At this point, the Byzantines had lost basically all of northern Africa. And there was still a little bit of fighting going on right here around Carthage. And Leontius was like, okay, we're going to get Carthage. Also, hydrocannabinoid, good to see you. Welcome in. Hope you're having a good one. Feel free to participate at whatever level you feel comfortable with. We're going to go save Carthage. We're going to go get it back. So it goes down there with too few men, way too quickly, with a really bad battle plan. They lose Carthage, and the Byzantines get defeated soundly. Yeah. So there's another guy who is also kind of interested in maybe being emperor. Now, he doesn't go by this, but he's eventually going to be Tiberius III. And he goes, okay, time to get rid of Leontius. So Tiberius III, who goes, this guy's no better than the last one, has a rebellion. He's going to get Leontius, and he's going to do the nose thing, get rid of the nose, but he's going to go one step further and say, we're also going to cut out your tongue. So he cuts off Leontius's nose and cuts out his tongue, and he sends him to a monastery where he is supposed to live out for the rest of his life. And now we have Tiberius III as emperor in 698. So Leontius only makes it 3 years. And Tiberius, well, he doesn't have a lot of gumption, just to be honest. And in the last 2 years of the 7th century, he basically just tries to hold together the kingdom and doesn't do a very good job of it. But there is more, and that will come next time. The puppy is here, though. Would you like to come up and see? Come here. The people actually asked for you. Come on. Come up here. Or would you want to come over here? Come on. Oh, yes. The people would like to see the puppy. Oh, yes. They'd like to see the puppy. Oh, hello. Thank you. So many puppy sugars. Hello. You were outside probably chasing a cat or barking at the neighbors. Yeah. And they wanted to see you. And I called and you were not there. Oh, the puppy. Oh, you want your ears scratched? Oh, yes. Oh, scratch my ears. Oh, my goodness gracious. Oh. Oh, that's the good stuff. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What? Where are you going? That dog is a mess. So there was the puppy of war. She goes where she pleases. All right, so at the end of our day, the Byzantines are basically just left with this, which is not a lot. They've lost all of Africa. They've lost a substantial part of their territory here. They've lost all of their provinces in Syria. They've lost full control over Cyprus. They've even lost a lot of the central part of Greece here to Slavic invasion and other various groups of people. They've lost big portions of their Italy territory. And just to be for real, things aren't so great for the Byzantines. Now, they do get better eventually, but it is going to be a while. But that is for another stream, because that is where we shall end our discussion tonight on my part. But as always, if there are questions about this material, or if anybody wants to spend some channel points, or if anybody just wants to talk about some stuff, now is the time to do so. I'm going to go look to see who's streaming to see where we might go do a raid. A raid. We could go raid the NFL football game and watch the that's the Chargers. Watch the Chargers play the Chiefs. We're not going to go raid the NFL football game. And everybody got really quiet. And that's okay. All is well. I've done a lot of talking. We do not have to continue to do talking. Maybe everybody's kind of sick of me. Don't threaten a bunch of nerds with a football game. Maybe that's why everybody shut up. They're like, no. That's fair, right? Irky durky. So anybody got anything else? We all cool? Thank all of you for hanging around. We'll be back Tuesday next week. Tuesday, 1900 Central Standard Time. We'll be doing a viewer request. The topic of the viewer request is Nelson Mandela, which is going to be an interesting stream. I'm having to do a lot of very careful preparation work for Nelson Mandela stream. It's not as easy of a topic as you think it might be, right? Thanks for the interest topic. Oh, thank you, Raveland. And thank you for helping out. And you know what I mean. So we'll just leave it at that. You love the Byzantium. Oh, yeah, man. I'm like, this realm of history is kind of like my bread and butter. What's the big thing on your mind from the news? As weird as it sounds, right now, the thing that I was thinking about the most today is the Central Asian country of Kazakhstan. Because I know that's what everybody expected me to say, right? Kazakhstan, the thing that's on your mind today. Now, why is Kazakhstan on my mind today? And why have I been thinking about it a lot today? So, today there was a meeting in Uzbekistan, which is just south of Kazakhstan. So this is Uzbekistan right here. And the meeting in Uzbekistan was between Xi Jinping, the premier of China, and Vladimir Putin. But yesterday, Xi Jinping made a stopover in Kazakhstan. And that was an interesting move because he did it very openly and very broadly, and they had these big public talks where the governments were talking with each other. And there is a bit of three-dimensional chess that's being played here, where China is trying to do something shady. And they're trying to be friendly with Russia to a point, because they don't want Russia to completely collapse, because they need Russia to be the bad guy, right? Because if Russia's not the bad guy, then China's the bad guy. And they especially don't want Putin to completely collapse, because then there's actually a real chance that Russia might go better. Take it easy, Lumpy. So why then Kazakhstan? Well, there's a reason for that. Putin has very clearly turned the fossil fuel industry of Russia into a weapon. And everybody should have seen this coming, but they were so greedy for the cheap stuff that they gave him the weapon, right? And Europe is feeling this as Russia has cut off gas supplies to Europe, and as they are threatening to cut off gas supplies even further to perhaps even zero to some places. And some of that Russian fossil fuel ends up in China, because China needs fossil fuels. China does not have an enormously large amount of natural reserves of things like natural gas or oil. Now, they have some, clearly, but they don't have enough to feed their fire. So they're importing some from Russia. And China has seen Russia turn fossil fuels into a weapon, and they're trying to prevent that from happening to them. Thus, Kazakhstan. Now, why is Kazakhstan so important? Kazakhstan has a crap ton of oil, and they are very happy with exporting that oil. And China cozying up to Kazakhstan at the same time that Russia is looking really, really bad in the national eye of things, and especially given that the Ukrainians are pushing very hard on the Russians, who assumed that they were invincible over the last couple of weeks, has put Putin in a really foul mood. A very foul mood. And China can't completely jump on board with this. They can't just throw all in with Russia. As long as Russia was going to win quickly and beat the crap out of Ukraine, yes, China can say we fully support Russia. But if Russia might lose, oh no, China can't back a losing horse, because then the government looks bad. And they especially don't want to get involved in trying to prop up Putin in his own country, because that would be a giant faux pas on the international scale. So there's a lot, like I said, a lot of three-dimensional chess going on right now, right around here in Kazakhstan. Yeah, so one of those is fossils and one of those is bones, and there's a difference, right? So anyway, so Kazakhstan has been on my mind a lot today, and I think KP said you kind of expected that because he knows me. Yeah. What's your opinion on the Sinkafield Cup chess cheating scandal? I have no opinion on that because I didn't know it was a thing. OMG, you're outpunned. Hey, when you come to this channel, you better be ready. You better bring your A game. We don't need any flaccid jokes around here, bud. Gotta stand up straight and do what you're supposed to. Anyway, so that's what's on my mind in the news. So Kazakhstan is also one of those countries that had to declare independence from Russia a few times, and Putin likes to give them a side eye when he talks. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I need to read up on the chess scandal. It's absolutely wild. What was it called? Senkafield Cup chess cheating scandal. I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to dump it in Google search, and we'll see what pops up after the stream. And I'll give that a look after. Dude supposedly used a foot-powered computer to guess moves. Huh. Well, that's interesting. This is very cool. You were right about Russia having only a handful of modern ammunitions. I'll take any time someone says you were right. I read on the BBC that they bought ammo from North Korea. What's really interesting, Lumpy, about that material that they bought from North Korea, it was actually their own crap, because they sold that to North Korea in the Cold War. The stuff that they bought from North Korea was repurchasing munitions that they had sold to Korea in the Cold War. So they're not even making new stuff. They're buying old stuff back from North Korea, which is really bizarre. It's crazy stuff. Yeah, they're up to using old stuff. Yeah, they like Russia has some, like I said, Russia had really, really advanced stuff. They just had 3 of them. And we're seeing exactly how far their war materials are when, instead of trying to salvage a tank, they're just abandoning it, right? So it's a weird situation. Just a weird situation. So, all right, bedtime for real. Yeah, and I think it's time to go do a raid for us as well. Let's see who we're going to go raid. What are we doing? Well, Chris is on break, so we're not going to go raid him. No. No. Let's do something kind of different. Let's go raid some friends. We've raided them once before, and it's always a trip to go hang out in the stream. So we are going to go raid the Twizzard and AiH, and they are doing a very unique call-in show where you call in and basically play a stripped-down version of Dungeons and Dragons that they created on their stream. Fascinating and interesting stuff. You never really know what you're going to get when we get to the Twizzard chat room, and AiH is a very adorable animated cat, so it's a little bit different. And now for something completely different. Very much so. So the next time you will definitely see me Tuesday, 1900 Central Standard Time, talking about Nelson Mandela. We'll be back Thursday, and we'll have ourselves some fun with some adventures in history. Of course, there's a chance that over the weekend I'll be able to sneak in some Gun Plus stuff. Won't be Saturday. I've got to go to a birthday party for my nieflings, so that's what I'll be up to. They're cute little kids, and I don't mind hanging out with them, so there we go. All right, so that's the plan. Until then, I love you all. You are all great. Take care of yourselves. Do something nice for somebody, and don't tell them that you did it. And until then, take it easy.